Pavel Lapierre, just a bright, shining light in the city, as many of our young people are, and tragically her life comes to an end. Curious of how upsetting it is to you to see a person back on the street committing a crime like this. And talking about plea deals as well, and I'll ask Ivan Bates the same thing. Are we getting to the point where some people are getting through the cracks who just shouldn't be and should be in jail?
Well, I think the state's attorney does a great job of going through this guy's previous cases, but it's about, in this case, it's about the credits. For me, someone that goes to jail for a sexual assault and things that this person, I'm not going to give him the pleasure of calling him a man, this person had done, shouldn't be able to get out early, right? Period. You shouldn't be able to do that for something like rape and things like that, murder, shooting someone. That should be off the table. But that's what happened in this case, and Pavel was a shining light. She was someone that I would consider a friend who would literally came to Baltimore, believed in this city, was our biggest cheerleader, championing the city, telling everybody how great it's a place to come, especially if you're trying to grow your tech business. But then to have her life snuffed out by someone who should not have been on the streets, Jason, makes it even more soul crushing. And as the one who had to say that to her father and the rest of her family and see their reactions and constantly communicate with them about this incident, that's what we're talking about when you see the frustration from me and the police commissioner, even the state's attorney, right? Because I am the one that has to meet those parents, and they say, well, what do you know about the person? And I say, well, we've arrested this person X amount of times. They were found guilty of this, and this is how much time they served. And they ask why. This is why we have to talk about the complete public safety system and justice system, because it goes a lot further than the police commissioner, the mayor, and the state's attorney. And we have to think about all of that and everyone's responsibility, because my police officers' job are to go out there, enforce the law, and make arrests when people do things wrong. That's it.
Some of the online discussion and debate right now is whether or not that bolo should have gone out to everybody, all points bulletin about him being out there, Billingsley that is, and should have been presented to people, the public, early on. Any feelings on that? Because I know the commissioner heard two things.
This is what I'll say.
Okay.
When you have the Warrant Apprehension Task Force, which of course is not just Baltimore City, they work with the U.S. Marshals and folks from all around the region who do this daily, Jason. They go after folks. They're very particular about that information. When you have an incident that is folks where they know each other, right? And that's at that point, that's all that they had was that these folks knew each other. They were actively tracking them. I'm going to trust those individuals who work and do that is their job every day, to hunt people down, to say that that they made the right decision. Hindsight's always 20/20. But as someone who consistently says to them, like, okay, you guys have known who've done this or that for a long time, when are we going to put it out? That's always done with the calculation about how we're able to bring that person in. And I think that we'll continue to do that. But we're also now going to be making sure that the commissioner is alerted of these kind of decisions early, so he can make the ultimate decision in lifting these things up, whether things go out or not.
Sure. Let's get some things in that have happened well for us. You got the 2 votes come in. We have a fire chief now. We have a police commissioner. Those votes went through, and it was a pretty positive vote. I think 1 against Worley. Now, does it feel like we can start to move forward with leadership?
Well, we just continue.
Okay.
Both of these gentlemen, Commissioner Worley and Chief Wallace, have been serving the city for quite some time, and they've been doing great work. Now they can just get that off of their back and focus in on the work, right? For Commissioner Worley is now, how do we continue this reduction in homicides and non-fatal shootings, and pushing towards, right now as we speak, having under 300 homicides for the first time in almost 10 years, right? That's a big deal. And for Chief Wallace, continuing to make sure that our fire department is growing, that they're getting the resources that they need to be able to help our residents across the city of Baltimore.
Tell me, there are 2 things I want to ask you about, because you're a track guy. This is something positive. I saw you out there, I think it was at Druid Hill, getting what was that, cross country for middle schoolers. That is one of the things I feel like is key for young people to have an outlet. And I'm guessing for you, as a track guy, to see kids out there enjoying your sport had to mean something to you. Yeah,
we kicked off with our partners in Baltimore City Schools. Jason, as you know, there was never an actual all schools middle school public league when we were growing up. And now to have middle school athletics centralized, right? Not just this one Tuesday thing. It's a great opportunity for our young people, not only to participate in athletics and be healthy, but also to learn about themselves, learn how to be a leader, learn how to be a teammate, learn how to solve problems together, learn how to push themselves to achieving goals that they set. And I think for me, it's not just about cross country. Yes, I was excited that the first event was cross country, right? To be out there and be with folks who I ran with, who are now the coaches and officials of those leagues, and all of us thinking about the opportunity now that we're able to help provide to these young people.
Yeah.
But it's also about the other sports. Flag football, there'll be bocce, there'll be basketball, there'll be all of these different sports that allow our young women and young men to participate united in a way to show how we can continue to invest in the whole child.
Okay, last thing for you. Be fast. Orioles.
Yes.
I've seen you in the jersey. I think we're ready to go. It is beautiful to see that stadium full.
It is, and as predicted by the mayor, you remember when everyone laughed at me last year when I said they would be 500?
I remember.
And this year I said they were going to win the division. Everyone laughed again.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing. This team is so exciting, and the best part about this team is that they stay medium.
Yeah.
They stay calm. They don't let all the talk get to their heads. They stay focused on the mission, and now they know the mission isn't the division series. The mission is the World Series, and we're on our way.
All right. Brighter days in Baltimore, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.